Hi, everyone, and welcome to Everything Under the Moon. I am your podcast host, Becky McKitty Guidison, and with me tonight is my co host, Kyrra. How are you doing tonight, Kyrra?
Hi everyone. Hi Becky. I am doing well. Like I said, I was just cleaning my room and stuff, but I'm
Oh,
doing
that's
well
always a
today.
fun chore.
Oh yes. I decided to do that rather than going to the gym today. So
The things we give up when we're adults, huh?
mhm.
Well, tonight our very special guest is Kathleen. How are you doing tonight, Kathleen?
I'm good. How are you?
We are hanging in there. I know before we went live, we were talking about Christmas, and this is our first podcast for the new year. So, how was everyone's Christmas?
Busy, busy. I think I was
Yes.
still recuperating from Halloween all the way through Christmas.
Yeah, it does seem like nowadays it just goes Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and it's all just
Yes.
like that. It's like
Mhm.
done in the snap of a finger, and it's crazy times.
It
I know
is.
this time of year always just goes by so quickly, it seems.
Yes. And like for micros, I actually try to take a break. So I was definitely feeling very burnt out between work and other responsibilities and everything going on. Like the holidays, it was a lot trying to get gifts and all that fun stuff. So I actually had like a 4-day weekend for Christmas, and I ended up telecommuting the day before. So I barely worked Christmas Eve, but I did work Christmas Eve. But I had like that 4-day weekend, and I let myself watch a lot of TV. I let myself sleep in to like 9:30, which I never do. I never watch TV, so I'm normally too busy. So I took a break from like researching, break from like my other stuff. I really like rested, so I feel
Mhm.
a lot better
Oh, that's
before.
good.
So I was like, "Yay."
Yeah, that's a good thing. You got to give yourself breaks every once in a while. You
Yeah.
have to. Otherwise, you just go insane. It's a
Mhm,
must in
mhm.
life. I know that, we missed a podcast in December. We had came back for like a week and then we ended up missing. But that's okay because, we need those breaks. We need that time. And just like this is going to be our only podcast for this month. And then we're coming back in February because I know you are nonstop right now.
Yeah. I know, there's a lot
And
of things going on.
yeah, and I got some things that I can't announce yet, so I'm dealing with a bunch of stuff too.
Mhm.
So it's just, sometimes life happens and you have to step back and Christmas and the holidays does add to that stress. So when you get that chance to sit back, relax, do it, enjoy it. And I wish I would practice what I preach though, because
No, I feel you. It took me a long time to be able to, like, do that too. Like, it takes a
yeah,
while.
I'll sit there and I'll start to get bored or antsy and then I'm like, okay, I gotta go do something.
Yep. Yep.
So I never take my own advice, but it's good when people can take that advice and do that.
Yes.
But yes, we have some things coming up, and I can't really announce them, but this week, hopefully, everything will come together.
Yay.
I know the team because Kyrra, you're part of Tucson Ghost Society. We don't do any investigations in December. We basically take December off because I know that everyone's just family things and, stress of now since
Mhm.
we're all adults, the shopping and, putting everything together because we're in charge of it now.
Yeah.
So we take the month of December off. And, I know you're busy, so you're pretty much out for the next, month or so with investigations. But we got a lot coming up and a lot of things that we're going to be doing, which we'll discuss later. But it is still a crazy time of year and but it's a good thing starting the new year kind of crazy because hopefully that means more will pick up because we came off of our slowest year ever.
Yeah.
So, and Kathleen, I know you do tours and ghost hunts, and we want to
Mhm.
kind of bring that in here. And how was your 2025? For us, it was super slow. Hopefully, yours was better.
Um, you know, I, and I talked to a lot of tour guides around the US, and everybody kind of had the same, like, really busy seasons, and then it would be so slow you would think, where are all the people? And then all of a sudden it was either feast or famine kind of.
Hmm.
Um, October was just, I literally had something going every single day and every single night, which was great. You don't want to turn down any opportunities, but it's also exhausting to do it that way because you don't have time to kind of regroup and go back out. But it was good overall, and I I also have some things up my sleeve for the new year. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing what I have been doing, but then trying some additional things as well, which is going to be a lot of fun. I think it keeps it interesting.
All right. And for all of our listeners, where are you from? Where do you live right now?
So I live in Houston, but I
Okay.
work in Galveston, which is just about 20 minutes away from where my actual house is. Houston's kind of a spread out city. If you're not familiar with it, it can take 2 hours to get from one side of the city to the other. It's just really spread out. Galveston is an island just off the coast. So I just
Okay.
drive across the causeway and back every day. I am a writer there, so I have been writing for one of the magazines there for about 15, 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And I've got 5 books out, 3 more in the works, and started doing tours several years ago. So I do cemetery tours and I do historic district tours, but my most popular tours are the ghost tours. And my most popular books are the ghost story books. So, and which is great because that's kind of been a lifelong love of mine. So
Right.
it makes it fun for me too.
Well, that's good. I was actually kind of shocked that I overheard my husband talking to one of his friends at the Christmas party that he's thinking about moving to Texas in the future. Now, this will probably be like at least 4 years down the line because we have a daughter in high school and we want her to finish high school, where she's at and not transfer
Yes.
her. But Texas, I have been to. I've been to San Antonio,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Corpus Christi. Am I saying that right?
On the coast. Uh-huh.
Yes. And then my friend lived there, and I can't remember if it was Houston or Dallas. I want to say Houston that she lived in.
Okay.
So I've been to a couple, different cities there. Being from Texas, have you lived there your whole life or most of your life?
Pretty much. It's actually not a gimmick. I was actually born in Roswell, New Mexico, but
Oh, nice.
which explains a lot. And we bounced around a lot until I was about 5, which is when I landed in Houston. I'm about to turn 65, so I call myself a native Houstonian. I've been here 60
Right,
years.
right.
Counts.
So being in Texas so long, would you suggest that it's a good state to move to?
I love it.
Love it.
My husband has just retired over Christmas, and I obviously haven't. But he's, he keeps bringing up all these places like, what if we moved here? It's like, well, no, I just can't imagine it. I love to travel and I love to go to different places, but to me, Texas is just home. And the interesting thing about Texas is it's kind of its own little country because depending on what part you're going to, you can be in the swampland, you can be in the desert, you can be in the forest, you can be in the hill country. And the people are all different kinds too. It's one of the most mixed ethnically population states in the US. So you get exposure to all different kind of cultures just as you go around the state. And I just think it's really interesting that way.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize now. I'm sniffling a lot. I think my allergies are kicking in for the day. I'm like,
me too. I think we're all on the same plane.
Yeah, I'm like, so please excuse my sniffling. But yeah, my only thing is when I move from Arizona, I want to move somewhere where there's water nearby. I got to have water. I am a water person. I'm a water sign. I love water. I was raised in Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
So I was surrounded by rivers and, not far from lakes. And then I came out to Tucson where it's desert, dry as can be.
Yeah.
So I'm like one of those people that whenever I travel and I see like, a little stream of water, I'm like, water, 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 because I get so excited to see water.
Right.
So I always said, if we move, I want to move somewhere where I'm close to water because I need water.
It's really not going to limit you unless you move to El Paso because we have so many rivers and lake districts. And of course, we've got the whole coastline. So you can be near the water in a lot of different ways, depending on what you want.
That's good to know. That is so good to know because I was, I've traveled through Texas, here and there, and I'm like, well, I know San Antonio has like that beautiful river walk. I loved
Yeah.
that when we were there.
Mhm.
So pretty.
And then of course, the Corpus Christi, that was an ocean city, so
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to move somewhere where I know I can have water nearby, where I can just walk down the river or something. I'm like I said, I'm a Cancer, so that's a water sign. I was raised around water. I love water, and I'm as much as Tucson, and I've lived here, and it's pretty much my home. The water still calls me. I can't deny that. I can't deny that at all. I am not a desert girl.
I'm with you. I've lived in El Paso when I was tiny, but living in Houston, we always had access to the water. And now that I work on an island, of course, I get to see and work around the water every day.
Yes.
So that's really great.
Yes. And water is supposed to fuel paranormal activities. So see, that kind of goes hand in hand there.
It does.
You got to have a reason to investigate those paranormal activities, and that water can do it.
It does. And being on the coastline, we also have different reasons because we were a port city, and Galveston's also the site of the nation's deadliest natural disaster ever, the 1900 hurricane. We lost about 8,000 people in one day. We hope that record's never broken for everybody's sake. But that's a lot of loss of life all in one fell swoop. And then, of course, all the people that died of injuries and disease following it. There was a huge death toll, and the horrible things that the people had to deal with in the aftermath of it left a lot of energy there that is still making itself known.
Right. I can only imagine those poor souls, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that the paranormal investigator of me says, "Oh, that's cool," but the human part of me says that's really sad.
Yes.
You get that both. You get that half and half. Just like here in Tucson. Oh, again, my sniffling. We have, like, when we go out on our little road trips and adventures, you'll have like the little markers that will say, this is where, so and so died from, the massacre or whatever. And I'm sure that's all over the US, of course. And that paranormal part of me goes, "Oh, that is really, really cool. I wonder if it's haunted."
I wonder.
And then, that other part of me goes, "Wow, that's really sad. I feel for these people."
Yeah.
So when you're a paranormal investigator, you kind of have like that half and half that, is excited about stuff like that. But then your human half goes, well, that's kind of sad, and I probably shouldn't be excited about that.
No, trust me, I've fallen down that hole when I've done research and stuff. I go fairly deep in it, and like I'll be looking at like the obituaries and like all the things. I'm like, oh, or like things are interesting, but then I have to be like, oh, that's actually, oh.
Yeah, exactly. You get excited, but then you think about it and you're like, oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. It's like I always tell people ghosts were people too. So
yeah, exactly.
Characters.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I think some people confuse us, for being cold-hearted, and it's like we're not cold-hearted. It's just that built-in part of us, is like, that's, what if someone's still here? What if I can communicate with them? What if I can help them?
Yeah.
And then that other part just kind of goes, well, that's really, really sad. And should I leave it alone? Should I?
Yeah. I think a lot of it goes more on the side of curiosity more than being gruesome and really loving that they died in a horrific way. But we're more curious about what the after effects might have been of that. And
exactly.
I know my approach to the entire genre of writing ghost stories. I don't write nonfiction ones. I write nonfiction. I don't write fiction ones.
Right.
But I take a historian's approach to it. I'm also a genealogist. So I've done the family trees of all my ghosts, and I know all about their families and where they lived and what they did for a living. And I'll research and I'll pull out the police records and the death certificates. And so I really know the details. I'm not just kind of telling the folklore that's going around town.
Right.
And people can ask me about that entity, who they were as a person, and I can answer. It's like, oh, well, one day they went with their little girl, and they were really people. And I think it brings a bigger appreciation for the human aspect of it.
Exactly. And that is so cool that you can do that. And when you were talking about that, I could just see Kara's eyes like lighting up. She's like all excited. She's our historian. So she goes down to those rabbit holes. So I think what you just said right there has her total interest, and she can probably talk to you for the rest of the podcast.
Totally so, yeah. Yeah. I'm just lucky I get to do it for a living because I write history articles for the magazine. So a lot of the roads diverge. I do house histories. So I run across the people's ghost stories when I'm interviewing the current owners of the homes. So I end up researching in two different ways about the same thing. So yeah, it's addicting. History isn't boring. It's not that old textbook, just memorize names and dates. When you get into they were really people and what were their lives like and what really happened to them, that's fascinating.
No, I always like finding the most mundane stuff too. Like it's like the thing where it's like, for instance, you find the newspaper, you can feel like visited. Like I always see, because I've done a lot of stuff for like Tombstone or whatever, or be like visited Tombstone today, or the citizen of Tombstone visited brother in New Mexico, and it's always so funny the stuff they would do.
And it made the newspaper.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always found that funny too, looking back on some of the things that Kyrra has, shared with me about, such and such, brother visited today. And I'm like, nowadays, that definitely would not make the news. Everyone would be like, who even is that?
Exactly.
Okay, I got to ask, and then I'm sure Kyrra will probably follow up with a ton of, questions after this. But what is one of your favorite ghost stories that you have written about?
Oh gosh, that's like favorite child kind of thing,
right? Or the one that sticks with you the most.
The one that people react to the most probably is William Watson, and he actually wasn't from Galveston. He came into the port on August 28th, 1900, and on a ship on the SS Michigan. And after he finished his shift, he changed into his fancy clothes that he had brought with him to go out on the town, because there were other things to do in Galveston at the time. There were 500 bars on the island. There were lots of ladies that were more than happy to entertain the sailors that were there. And the last time he was seen, he was walking with a wavering step near the rail yard. And the next time he was seen, an engine was coming down the track and thought they saw something by the track, but of course they couldn't stop. So when they got into the station, they walked back the track and they found William, who had been beheaded by a previous train. It's very hard to identify somebody from here down.
Right.
So they took a very detailed description of him, right down to his red underwear. And I didn't even know they had red underwear in 1900 until I read the police report. But they went around looking for anybody that recognized the description, and they couldn't find anybody. So they went in search of the head, which they found quite a few blocks away. It had been caught up under the trucks, which are kind of like a wheel well on a train. And he just took a ride for a while until that train stopped with a jolt and he made his exit. But what made the headlines the next day was the fact that he still had his derby hat on his head. So he had that hat pulled down tight against the Galveston wind. He was identified once they got the puzzle pieces back together, and he was buried there. And of course, his shipmates left. And within a day, the 1900 storm struck.
Oh, wow.
So he died just prior to the 1900 storm. So of course, his grave marker was never carved. That was the last thing anybody was worried about, was carving a marker for a stranger. And he is one of our poltergeists. Now, he did have a wife and child at home, a 2-year-old child, both named Annie. And I often wonder, did they even know what happened to him? Or did they just say he died on the job, he was lost at sea, or did he just never show up home again? These are the things that just really drive me crazy. But he's one of our poltergeists on the island. He haunts the train station, which is now a museum. And he's also been seen in the rail cars. So it's just kind of fascinating. He wasn't even from there, and he's still there, but he's not too happy about it. And people get really intrigued with the whole process and want to know, well, how do you know this? How do you know this? Oh, that was in the police report. Oh, that was in the death certificate. And I think that's when they start realizing, oh, she's pulled a paper or two on this. But I think it makes the stories more interesting when you have more details.
Yeah, definitely. And oh, I cannot imagine being beheaded and then having your head travel with it for
I know,
Wee!
I'm like, oh
Right?
no.
I know.
oh, that's just, and to have your hat still on. That is really fascinating.
I know. And you have to assume that hat was probably buried with him because nobody probably wanted to pull it off the head. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I still have questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go down that rabbit hole. And I know Kyrra would be so excited to do that too. So, Kyrra, I'm
Yeah.
sure you have some questions about police reports and all that stuff on how she's finding all this.
Yeah. I probably was like, I wish I had access to ancestry.com and newspapers.com because I feel like I'd be able to get most of it. So,
Okay,
but
so
that way,
I
but
live on ancestry.com
yeah.
as a writer and a genealogist. If you have a local library and you have your library card, which are usually
Mhm.
free, they will have access to Ancestry and you can access it from home. Go get
Not
a free.
mine. I've tried.
No?
I've tried. The one that I have, I got a second library card through Maricopa County. It's
Mm-hmm.
very limited and it's stuff I've already found on my own. It's not like a full version of it, which I was all excited about it. And then I like tried to think, I was like, dang it, this is all the stuff I could find I've already found on my own for the most part. So
That's disappointing. Yeah, that's
I
hard.
know.
Um, yeah, I kind of start off with ancestry.com and then it leads me down the roads. I know for a couple of years I worked for Ancestry,
Hmm.
digitizing documents for them. I digitized 200,000 marriage certificates
Oh
for them
wow.
a couple of years ago during COVID. And that led me down a whole lot of rabbit holes too, because I was in the offices. It's like, oh, the death certificates are in the next department. And yeah, and people would come in and I'd say, where are the, yeah. So that was fun. I'd get in trouble if I worked there in the courthouse all the time because the courthouses have records that sometimes they don't even know about. I found
Hmm.
autopsy records from the 1800s.
Oh wow.
Oh,
And when I asked them about it, they're like, there are autopsy records back there. They,
We had like no idea.
they probably haven't pulled them in a few years for any reason, but it was kind of
Hmm.
fascinating.
oh my goodness.
Any
Kara,
other?
you'd be in heaven.
Yeah, I know. It's like any other resource you can think of that I could potentially use. People who want to be, the aspiring historian.
So if you're talking about researching like ghost stories and folklore
Hmm.
and stuff in particular, you
Hmm.
start just with your basics and branch out. Like think of your initial story as the central thing and then start creating a spider out from it. Because if where were they from originally? Were they from that place? If they were from a town in Arizona that you have access to, a lot of times the libraries will have old phone books so you
Hmm.
can find what house they lived in. If you're not talking about, you might be talking about they haunted a bar or something. Go find out what house they lived in. The old phone books will also say what they did for a living, which is sometimes really interesting. And sometimes you
Hmm.
have to look it up because they call it something really strange that we wouldn't call it
Or it's
today.
abbreviated super weirdly, and you're like,
Oh,
what does that mean?
yes, thank you. Exactly. You have to get really good at deciphering
Yeah.
codes. But every little thing is a clue. Um, if you can get access to the newspaper archives online, whether they're through a library or through Ancestry, a lot of libraries have access to them if you're on site at the library.
Hmm.
Um, Local genealogy societies, and some of them frown on the ghost work.
Hmm.
Um, Luckily in Galveston, nobody frowns on ghost stuff. This is one of those
Good.
really unique places. And it's funny that I always tease on my tour because I say, I give the tour at night and I say, when you're back down in the district during the day and you're shopping, ask whoever's behind the counter who their local ghost is and what they've done lately. They will stop what they're doing and tell you because we're proud of our ghosts. They're our family, everybody in Galveston is just so proud of their ghosts and they just accept that there are hauntings. And it's ironic that I always say, try that in Phoenix. Go down and walk in any shop in Phoenix. They will call the padded wagon on you if you do that. So you have to watch what you ask. But if you ask without the, haunting umbrella on it, say, I'm trying to find out, my friend and I are working on a family tree. We're trying to find out about Bob Smith. and this is what we know about him. Sometimes the local genealogy societies can tell you about some local records you might not know about.
Yeah. That's a good, like, I've never thought about the genealogy society before, so thank you. So like the other stuff, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'll definitely take that moving forward and see if that might be a different avenue I can try to take,
Yeah.
especially as we're delving more into some like other spaces. So
Yeah, and the Library of Congress and the National Archives are also online, and sometimes they have local newspapers, and sometimes they have really surprising ones.
thank you.
Sure.
Now, Kyrra, after the show, is going to be like researching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was already planning on doing some more, so
Good thing you cleaned your room, because now you're not coming out of it.
yeah.
She's going to be in there forever now.
Yes.
Well, I know that we do have some things on our plate for some of the new stuff coming up that we're trying to research. And I can't go into details, so it's hard, but there is one location that when I was there, I think it was last week, they were talking about how they believe it's being haunted by a girl who was murdered. And this girl was a lady of the night, so to say.
Okay.
And she was murdered by one of her suitors. So that's the research I'm really trying to dig into right now, is trying to figure out, is that a true story to begin with? And if that is a true story, more detail about it, who she was, who was the guy. But this town apparently had underground tunnels, and these suitors would use these underground tunnels so they weren't being seen by the public, and taking like backdoor entrances into buildings. So that's what I was told. So this is like the research that we need to dig into and see how much truth there is to these things.
Do you happen to have a specific year? That would be too good if you did.
I believe they said 1900, the early 1900s. They didn't give me a specific year.
So I would go to the town police office and ask if they have archives of the police records, and you might just have to sit for a few afternoons and flip through them. You can flip through really quickly and see the word homicide. It might not have been reported in the newspapers, because the majority of time, unless it was really salacious and there was somebody famous involved, the locals didn't care if a prostitute got murdered.
Yeah.
They weren't considered real people or full citizens. So it wasn't something that was reported on. Yeah, does the address still exist?
I have the current address. I would have to ask the owner if that's always been the address or not, but I have the current address.
Okay.
Because you know how sometimes addresses change throughout time, especially in Tombstone. Tombstone's the worst when it comes to that.
Yes.
And they rename streets, and then they move the door facing the other way. And yeah, that's really interesting. I would ask your local genealogy society or your county courthouse who has the insurance board records for that city, because from about 1900 on, early 1890s on, there were really insurance board records for almost every building, both residential and commercial. And at the very least, it will list off all of the owners for you and a very specific description of the building, which is really interesting, because some of those things might have changed over time. And sometimes you can tell, oh, wait, that's not the building that's still there. So that's a dead giveaway, if you'll pardon the pun. But insurance board records are really fun to work with too. And whoever thought insurance could be interesting?
Not me, that's for sure.
No. The things I get into.
Well, that's really interesting. I love your approach on how you go about this. I know I feel so sorry for Kyrra, because a lot of this gets passed on to her. But I know when we were trying to do our Tombstone research, and you still have some issues finding some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And they had a great newspaper, but
they had 2 fires go through the town.
Yeah.
So they had to rebuild it. And so like addresses and streets and everything changed. So trying to find the actual, was this building this? Was it? I know, Kyrra, you've had a lot of issues.
Yeah, because we were trying to find basically back of a claim, but it was saying it was like the first fire, and there's no
Mhm.
there's nothing from that time because the part that got burned down was like the main street, like Allen Street, which is like the main street. And so it's just like any records, I believe most of it would like went up in flames and stuff like that. So yeah, there's like a little bit of history that still I can't find out.
Yeah, and I don't think there were Sanborn records for Tombstone. There would have been for Tucson, Phoenix.
Yes. The
Um,
Sanborn, I think it's like in 1884, I think
mm,
is the first one that pops up. But we're trying to back up a claim from like 1879, 1880.
oh,
And I was
yeah, they
like,
won't go
dang
back that far.
it. I'm like, that doesn't go that back far. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're really cool that they'll tell where all the buildings are, and they'll
Yeah.
probably be very different from today, which is still interesting.
Yes. I always like looking at those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, we couldn't confirm certain things that we were told. So we have to basically say allegedly because
Yeah.
we don't know, you know, it's just what we've been told. We don't know 100% for sure because we can't research it
Yeah.
because of, you know, what Kyrra said, you know, the two major fires destroying all the records. And
That's when you start the story with the story goes that
Yeah.
yeah, basically that's what we have to do because, you know, we can't confirm, we can't deny it. You know, it's what's being passed down from generation to generation at this point in time. So,
yeah, absolutely. I
you know,
know
and
I
as yeah,
when
and
I
as a
wrote the
company owner, as in writer, as I'm sure you know, you don't want to get caught in a lie, and you don't want
right.
to, you know, so you have to, you know, choose those words. You know, the story goes, or allegedly, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
And I've
you're
heard
not
some
caught in that.
really I've heard some really fun stories. There are a lot of ghost tours in Galveston, and some of them are literally somebody was standing on a corner and decided that they'd start telling ghost stories. Yet they have no idea what the history is or anything. It just drives me insane as someone who actually likes the history part of it. But I've passed them, and there's one that says there's a big square in the middle of the downtown district that's kind of where they have public concerts and things. There used to be a
Mhm.
building there, but it's just a square now. Um, and every time they bring the tourists by, they say, this is where the guillotine was, and they beheaded thousands of people, and they're all buried beneath the square. And I have to walk by going, that's the wrong continent, the wrong century. That was a mercantile building. You know, it's just like, okay. But
I
that's
can
what
kind of guess who that tour is.
do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think
You
they're
might be right.
nationwide, and they just kind of make up things as they go.
Mhm.
You might be right.
Yeah, we have those issues in Tucson too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of us do. I know when I wrote the Ghosts of Galveston book, I initially just started gathering all the ghost stories that I knew and having people tell me more. And there were so many. I had over 400 ghost stories, and it's
Oh
an
wow.
island. I thought, okay, so how am I going to start sorting through these and make them really fun? And I know growing up, I've always loved ghost stories, but it was always so disappointing to me that you'd hear this really good story about a place, and then you'd find out at the very end, oh, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That's just like heartbreaking because you want to go see the building or visit the place.
Yes.
So my parameters were that buildings still had to exist, whether it was a house or a commercial building. I had to be able to back it up through genealogy, police records, newspaper reports, whatever, that the incident and that person really happened. And so I included about 45 stories in the book, but they're all, and I list the addresses. So if somebody just happens upon the book and doesn't really want to take a tour, they can drive around the island and kind of give themselves a self tour with the book because it has the addresses and what's supposed to happen at each one of them. But I think it makes it more fun because I love a ghost story, even if you can't visit it, but it's a lot more fun if you can see the building.
Yeah, exactly. That definitely makes it a lot more interesting. I know the one that I'm writing that we're finishing up, we might be adding some things to them, but everything I wrote about, we personally investigated. So Tucson
I,
Ghost Society actually went in there and investigated itself because we have a ton of ghost stories too.
yeah.
But I was like, you know, I want to be able to add my personal experience to it. So the only ones I'm writing about are the ones that we personally have gotten to go in and investigate and either had experiences or didn't have experiences, but it's, included in the book so we can put our little add-on touch of what we've experienced. And I know Kyrra, she's writing the history part of it, or did write the history part of it. And she's, added some of her experiences at some of the places we've gone to. So it just has a touch of, everything that the team has experienced and the history. And I'm really excited to hopefully get it published, but we need to, we might be adding a couple places to it. We might be adding a section to it for our upcoming stuff. So I'm kind of putting it on hold to see.
Yeah.
But hopefully, fingers crossed, we get it out no later than October of this year. So
that would be great.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that you never know when it's like you have to stop at some point. And every once in a while, my publisher will say, I know you're still researching, even though the book is done. Stop it. Just give me the book. But yeah, mine was just, the ghost story, whatever. And I've threatened to go back now, especially since the book came out several years ago. People have invited me into their homes and properties that I personally hadn't been in personally before, and we've investigated. We've got a big investigation coming up this weekend, and it would be fun to get those down in book form too. The building we're going in this weekend is a beautiful home. It's 1894 3-story mansion. It's been abandoned for years. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Kling brothers. They used to have a show called Ghost Lab. They're coming in from San Antonio, and we've got some guests coming in, and we're going to investigate Friday and Saturday night. But I've investigated it before, and it's active and it's fun. It's fascinating. And I know people that can't come because you can't just let everybody come in while you're doing it would love to read about it, but they'd rather be in there doing it with us.
Right.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. It always fascinates me to see like all those abandoned like mansions and stuff. I'm like, I'll move into them.
Yeah, I'm not scared.
I'm like, I'll move in.
I was like, I'm more worried about falling through the floor.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm way more worried about a person that might be hiding in the
Oh, that
basement.
too. Yes.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes.
The ghost
Yes.
second reason
100%. We did this old bar in Tucson. It's not here anymore, but I am writing about it in my book. And it was called Bumstair. It was an old college hangout restaurant bar, and it sat abandoned for a long time. And when we went to investigate it, we got permission and everything. We didn't, trespass. But when we went to investigate it, I was more worried about the homeless people or any people around there,
Yes.
because I was worried, what were they going to do? People are definitely more dangerous than ghosts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I was worried about someone like hiding in like one of the closet type things over the ghosts that might be in there.
Yeah. It's kind of, people always want to go in our cemetery district after night, and there's a certain ghost tour that goes in our cemetery. I'm the local cemetery historian, so I'm very protective of the cemetery. But if I were a ghost, that's the last place I'd be hanging out.
Exactly.
With a bunch of gravestones with nobody to see. I'd want to like see the places that I loved or see anybody. That's wouldn't be where I hang out. But it is where the homeless population sleeps at night. So every time somebody says, well, can we go in the cemetery at night? And I was like, absolutely not. That's a lot more dangerous than going ghost hunting.
Yeah.
And the ghosts have nothing to do with it.
Yes. The people are scary. And it's not anything against homeless people. Don't get us wrong. It's just, you don't know what kind of, they may not even truly be homeless for all you know, who knows what's out there.
Yeah.
People are definitely so much scarier. And I always say that. To me, it's worrying about the people and the bugs. And let me clarify, the bugs out here in Arizona are deadly. We have a lot of deadly things out here. So,
Well, Well, living on the Texas coast, I can't throw stones about anybody else having bugs because we have mosquitoes the size of hawks. So
Oh my God. Now that I don't like the thought of,
That's
because
my worst nightmare right there.
yeah, yeah. No, that would drive me crazy because I'm mosquito's main food source, it seems. So
Yep.
that might be a
Same.
yeah. Well, Galveston Island, I often wonder how people lived back in the day. No air conditioning, but the
right.
mosquitoes are so, they're just thick, especially during certain times of the year. But rattlesnakes everywhere because rattlesnakes love to live in sand dunes. And a lot of tourists don't realize that. So they'll send the kids off to play in the sand dunes. We're like, no, 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 not the sand dunes. It's like, just know your surroundings.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, we have, we still have mosquitoes out here. But we have black widows, tarantulas, rattlesnakes, scorpions, and so when I see things crawling or, I'm like, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, you definitely win on that count.
The scorpions especially because they're so tiny.
They are. When I was
Mhm.
little and I lived in El Paso, I remember if I had to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, I hated turning on the light because they were always like right on the tile. It's like, "Ah."
No, my house here gets scorpions, like a couple each season and stuff. That's kind of where we are, and it's always like, ah. You
Nope.
Yeah.
see me like that freak out. You're like, oh my god. My sister just screams and climbs on top of whatever's closest, and she just starts screaming. So
Yeah, I don't. Nope, I'm good. I don't
So we'll
like
hang
those
out with
things.
dead people, but we don't like
Yeah,
scorpions.
yeah.
mm-mm,
Oh,
mm-mm.
definitely not. And then we have that one, and I cannot think of the name of it, but it looks like a scorpion, but it's not a scorpion, and it's not deadly. Do you know what
Huh.
I'm talking about, Kira? I can't think of the name of it.
Is it like a bark? It's like a bark something. Is that what you're thinking of? I don't
I think
know.
so. They're a little bit
Yeah,
bigger though than the scorpions, but they look like
yeah.
exactly like them almost.
Hmm.
And we get those too. So it's like you're sitting there. I don't want to know if that's a scorpion or not a scorpion. I just don't
Yeah,
want to get near.
Yeah. Don't want to get close enough to find out.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. We went on one, and this was before you were on the team, Kara. We were investigating like an old jail, and we went to like an old murder trailer type thing. And they had one of those non-scorpion things. And my husband's like, "Oh, look at this." And I'm like, "I'm not getting close to that." He's like, "It's not deadly." I'm like, "I don't care. I'm not getting close to it."
And that's
Right?
always an interesting little thing you have to deal with if you're doing an investigation in some place that hasn't really been populated for a while. And
Mhm.
you know how it is sometimes when you're feeling things, it almost feels like strands of silk on you. You feel like you're walking through cobwebs, even if there are no cobwebs.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of it. Was that a cobweb? Was that not a cobweb? All the
Yep.
flashlights come out trying to figure it out. But that's exactly what that specific thing feels like, which is really interesting.
Yeah. That's funny that you said the cobwebs too, because I've had that a lot where I feel like I'm going through cobwebs and you start searching and you don't see it. But we had one that we were filming, one of our cameras was set out, and I had to do like a double take, in fact, probably a triple take on the video because we saw something moving. And I was like, what is that? And I'm like, is that a ghost? What is it? And we had to rewatch it a few times. And my husband's like, that's a cobweb. So we actually caught a cobweb, like a spider forming the cobweb, and it kept moving, but it looked ghostly. So we were like, okay. So that was really fascinating to actually catch that on video of getting that cobweb moving.
That
Uh,
is interesting.
but thank goodness I didn't run into the spider doing that.
Yes.
Because I would have thrown a fit. My team always makes fun of me. They're like, you run to the sounds of ghosts and you run away from the bugs. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I
What's
do.
your point?
I'm like, I live in Arizona. Do you really blame me? Y'all know what lives out here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had an investigation where they had a mouse in the house. And I don't mind mice. I really don't.
Mm.
But not knowing what it was, that freaked me out because I just saw something crawling on the floor. I don't know if it's a snake. I don't know what it is. And I was with a male investigator who's no longer on the team, but he saw something dark and shadowy crawling on the floor too. And he ran out screaming and left me behind. And I'm like, way to go, dude. You're supposed to be the man. You're supposed to be the protector. And you're leaving me behind. Who knows what it was?
And note, she said he's no longer on the team.
Yeah. And honestly, not by my doing either. But yeah, I was in shock because, we both saw it. And he goes running out and leaves me in there. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is so wrong.
It cracks me up. I've worked on a couple of the ghost show TVs, the investigations, and there are people, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Ghost Brothers with the three. Okay. You know how their whole thing is that they're scared of ghosts, they're scared of their own shadow, whatever. These guys are like the nicest guys ever. They are so much fun to hang out with. They are scared of their own shadow. Every time something happened in the investigation, they were out the door. They weren't. And I'd stand there and go, but didn't you want, isn't this what you want?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. I always find it funny when people get scared and run out when this is what they wanted,
Or they thought they wanted.
Yeah. Or
yeah.
I will admit there's been times that I've screamed, but I've screamed because I didn't know it was paranormal activity. It was, I thought maybe a person or, the bug situation. But like one time I got tugged on really hard. And I thought someone came up behind me and tugged on me. So I screamed, not knowing, if it was a person or what. And then I turned around and there was no one in sight. And I realized it was paranormal. And then I'm like, okay, that was cool. Do it again.
Yeah.
I didn't run out screaming, but I did scream because it shocked me. It wasn't something I expected. And I'm here thinking that, a human being came up behind me and was like tugging on me in the pitch black, so it freaked me out. It's like, when people sneak up behind you and, boo, and
right.
you jump and scream. And, that's what I always tell everyone, because everyone's like, aren't you scared of it? And I'm like, no, it's the shock. You will scream when you get that shock, because you don't expect it.
It just takes you off guard.
Yeah. But I'm not running out the door screaming. I was standing my ground and staying there, but
because sometimes on my tours, things occasionally do happen, and it almost every time something happens that it's something to witness it happening, I'll kind of lower my voice and stay very calm with them, tell them what's going on, and say, step over here and watch this. And half of them will go and half of them will take one giant step back because they want to hear the ghost stories. They don't really want to see it. It cracks me up. It's like, okay, I know who's who now.
Yeah, I've had people, because I do ghost tours and ghost hunts like you do. And I've had people that, oh, I want to do this ghost hunt. And, then they go in there and you turn off all the lights. And the minute those lights go off and you're just kind of sitting there and you're just kind of in the dark, they're like, I want to go. It's like, nothing has even happened yet. And they're like, no, we want to go.
It's just or they think everything's a ghost. It's like, no, that's not a ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we've
the
had
demons
that
in the corner. The demons in the corner. And you're like, oh,
that's
no.
the burglar alarm light.
Yeah.
It's not a glowing eye.
Yes. I've had to disappoint some people because I'll see like a blinking red light and I'm like, that's the smoke alarm. Yeah. But it's amazing to see, how different people react. And it's a lot of fun, and we've been on, ghost hunts tours that, we have the same thing. It's like they want to hear it. They don't want to actually experience, or they think they want to experience, but the minute they go in there with lights out, they're like, no, I don't want this. I've changed my mind.
Yeah, the house that we're doing this weekend, the last time we investigated, I was with a different group that time. And we had just really started the investigation, had the equipment out, and we're immediately getting responses. It's a very, very nice entities and very welcoming, and they want people to come visit and things, so nothing scary at all. And we're
Right.
just all standing around kind of marveling. It's like, wow, we're just getting immediate responses, just on the nose. And one of the women walked out of the door really fast and walked down the stairs. We were on the second floor, and I kind of waved to my friend and I said, I'm going to go check on her, see what she's doing, because we can't have people wandering around a dark house by themselves. And
Right.
she had run out the door and gotten in her car. And I said, are you okay? I was like, is she running for an inhaler or something? I was like, are you okay? And she said, everything's demonic in there. It's all demonic. And I said, there's nothing demonic in there. And she goes, it's all demonic. You need to save yourselves and I'll get out of there. And she took off. And I thought, okay. And I went back in and kind of giggled to myself, because thanks to all the TV shows, everybody thinks everything is demonic anymore. And no, a few minutes later, she came upstairs and started shouting to everybody, it's a demon. I can see them. And the rest of us were going, we're fine. If you're uncomfortable, though, we're happy to walk you to your car. And she left
Right.
again. It was just like, was she trying to be the center of attention? Was she, we don't know what was going on with
Yeah.
that. But I think she was just so startled that things were happening so fast. And she'd probably watched too much TV and thought everything was demonic. And it's not.
No. And that's one of the things that I think drives me crazy, is so many of those TV shows put that out there, and it's all for ratings.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long you've been doing this professionally. I've been doing it professionally for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've ran across grumpy, but never demonic.
Mm-mm.
And I've been to some of those places that these so-called TV shows have been to, and no. In fact, there's one location that my two daughters, and at the time, my cat's coming in here now. At the time, they were like 12 and like 9, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they were walking around this location by themselves together. They weren't scared. They weren't, yelling demons. They were like, oh, the only thing was, my one daughter kind of got freaked out because she saw a shadow, and right after she saw a shadow, she got sick. But that was like the worst of it. There was nothing major. She wasn't scared. She didn't run out screaming demon. But yeah, I don't want to say they don't exist, but they are so freaking rare that your chances of running across one is like slim to none.
I've had maybe 2, knock on wood, plastic, whatever I'm near, maybe 2 unpleasant things happen to me. It wasn't demonic, but it wasn't it was less than welcoming, I'll say.
Exactly.
But if you look at the TV shows and how they've kind of morphed, the first one I filmed with was over 20 years ago. And when the first ones started, well, Ghost Hunters was the first one to really bring this all back, the original Ghost Hunters. And if you look at the original episodes, they would go for 2 or 3 episodes and nothing would happen, because that's what really happens during an investigation.
Yes.
After one season, the network would only renew them if they could promise them something happened in every episode. And I'm not saying that anything was falsified, but I am saying that from then on, multiple things happened in every single episode. Once all the competition started off, they all had to have multiple things happen in every episode. So they had to up the game and have it being threatening and running. Now they've had to up the game because everybody's being threatened and having to run out. So now every single one of them is saying, it's demonic, it's demonic. They all started kind of at the same time. And it's just comical, because if there were that many demons out there, they would have run into them 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, but they didn't. They started this about 5 or 6 years ago. So you can see the curve of it.
Unfortunately, it's all entertainment, and it's sad that it's gone that way. I mean, TV helped this field get more popular, but at the same time, I think it's going on that downfall because of the demonic. Everyone thinking it's all demons and all this and all that, and I keep having to tell everyone, you got to remember, entertainment. It's for entertainment. When you do real investigations, there's going to be times that you sit there all night and nothing happens in the most haunted building.
And that's not what they want to hear.
Yeah, they don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. That is the absolute 100% truth. There are nights that we are bored to death in, a place that has been active nonstop for us. And we're sitting there twiddling our thumbs some nights. We did a public ghost hunt at Fox Theater here in Tucson. And we had one couple come in, and within 15 minutes they left because they're like, there's no activity.
Oh my
You
gosh.
can't expect activity within that 15 minutes. The whole 90 minutes you're there, you may not get anything, but you can't expect it, within 15
That's right. On demand. They're like, come on.
I always tell them that these are circus animals.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And that's what I tried to tell them. We can't force them. They're not circus animals. We can't go sit and have them sit. It's something that you have to build that trust. You have to build that empathy with them. You have to let them know, hey, I'm not here for you to entertain me. I am here to get to know you and talk to you. And I think too many people go in there and wanting to be entertained because they're watching these shows to where they go in there and something happens like that. And, they want the same thing. And it does not happen that way.
Yeah.
I
always get a kick out of it when, everybody else is just like, okay, we've got a couple things. We're good. Everybody kind of leaves. And I'm usually the last one out of the building. And it's funny how sometimes things will just start immediately happening. It's like, they're almost going, whew, glad everybody's out of here. Let's talk.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Well, Kathleen, it is that time. It has been a pleasure talking to you. It just went by really quick. Before we let you go, we want you to be able to promote your tours, your books, everything you do. So we're going to turn the mic over to you and let you do that right now.
Okay. My name's Kathleen Maca. You can find me on KathleenMaca.com. I have 2 ghost-related books out, The Ghosts of Galveston, and the middle schoolers version is The Ghostly Tales of Galveston. It basically doesn't have the prostitutes and things in it. There is a 3rd one coming out that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but I'm really excited about it. And I do ghost tours, cemetery tours, etc. on Galveston Island.
Okay, great. Well, when you are allowed to talk about that other project, you'll have to come back on and let us know.
I'd love to.
That.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that would be great. We would love to hear about it, but we won't push you right now since you're not allowed to. But we want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Everyone, please check her out. Yeah, and we'll have you back. No problems at all. Just get in contact with us and we'll have you back when you can talk about that project.
Perfect. Becky, Kyrra, this has been a lot of fun. It was great to meet you.
Yes, I know Kyrra, and loved the insights you had for her. So
yes, thank you.
Good to talk to another researcher.
Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. We hope you have a wonderful night, and we will talk again in the future.
Sounds good. Good night, everybody.
Good night. All right, Kyrra. Oh my goodness, I don't know what it is about my nose, and it has to be allergies picking up. I swear.
You need my air purifier I got. That's where I got my air purifier.
Well, my allergies usually aren't that bad. There's only like certain times. I know you have really bad allergies that you suffer from, but for me, it's only like certain times. And I think what did it, to be honest with you, is I turned on, we have like this false fireplace in the bedroom to give off heat. And I think that's what did it. I think just turning that on.
You haven't used it in a while, though, the dust that's probably in there, and then also just like if it's gas or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's just kicking up, that dirt and the heat and stuff. It's actually gotten colder the past, we the whole month of December we were getting like 70s and 80s still.
Yeah, and then we had like a little bit of rain, and it would be like, okay, it's like kind of wintry.
Yeah. And this week it's supposed to be like 60s and 50s. So my bedroom was a little chilly. So I wanted to turn that on. But I think with the heat and all that stuff, it just kind of messed up my allergies. And I'm like, okay, I think I messed it up by turning on that heater so I could get warm. So
yeah.
And like I felt bad for sniffling so much. But hey, got to keep warm. I didn't want to be freezing. We talk about it freezing when it's like 50s and 60s. The rest of the countries get like 20, 30 below zero.
So like the next couple of weekends, like I'm traveling and going to places much colder than here. And so I bought myself like base layers. So kind of like long johns kind of stuff, because I'm like, I'm going to freeze my butt off. I have to go. So I'm going to Seattle over MLK weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then we might be going to Flagstaff the week after. But then at the end of the month, I'm going to Ohio for something.
Oh, Ohio, my home state.
Yes, so I'm going to Athens, Ohio, to the university there to do something with my sorority. Um, and it's gonna be cold because right outside, it's like an hour outside of Columbus. And I'm like, I am preparing myself to
Yes, it's going to
be
be very
cold.
cold. It will be very
Ah,
cold. Trust me, I used to do
oh my god.
winters.
Yeah, so I'm just like, oh, to
Yeah,
prep
and due
myself.
to your traveling, we're not doing our normal podcast again in January. We'll be back in February.
Hmm.
Safe travels to you. I hope it
Thank
all
you.
turns out okay. I know traveling at this time of year can be a pain, so safe
Yeah,
travels.
thank you.
Yeah, and we will have a lot to talk about when we come back in February because I should know by
Hmm.
February all of these things that I can't talk about right now.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm going to a meeting this week. Let's all hope it turns out and we'll see what happens. But fingers crossed, new adventures for 2026. We hope everyone's having a good year and, it's off to a good start. Please, please support local companies like Kathleen's and like ours, Tucson Ghost Company. We need it. If you're going to go on a ghost tour, research. Research who is the locally owned ghost company. Don't do those nationwide ones because, as you heard, they just kind of make up things as they go.
Hmm.
Or they use AI or they steal
Yeah,
stories from
yeah.
the locals. So please make sure it's locally owned and operated, please. Or at least state owned, I guess. But, definitely locally, for the ghost tours. So, Kyrra, you want to say what you want to say to the audience?
Thanks for listening, everyone. Happy New Year to you. Wishing everyone the best. Yeah, check us out. And as always, stay spooky.
Okay. Yes, TucsonGhostCompany.com, our Facebook page, our Instagram page. I personally have TikTok also that I'm trying to grow that audience. And I have, of course, Facebook and Instagram. Please check us out. Everything I have is under Becky McKitty Guidison or Becky at Tucson Ghost CO. Definitely, if you want to book a tour for Tucson, TucsonGhostCompany.com. Would really appreciate that. We will be back in February for our next Everything Under the Moon podcast. And until then, remember, you are never truly alone. Good night, everyone, and Happy New Year.